Hola, bom dia. Cole Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube and podcast. And it's a busy one today. Been running around setting up behind the scenes. Just take a quick look at this, will you? Look, that's our stage set for making toothpaste a little bit later on. And of course, it's Tuesday today. So it's Thomson Tuesday. Will Thomson will be back. He's the guy who... all this information about COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and it's also conflicting often. There's so much of it. Will is your man who goes deep into the information and wrangles with all the kind of propositions and theories and ideas. And he's been joining us. He was here last Tuesday. He was here before that, way ahead of the curve of awareness. And he has been digging deep. He's the super-sleuth of coronavirus. And he joins us at around 9:20 for a leisurely discussion, should you wish to stick around for that and dig deep into what's going on with COVID-19 on the face of it and behind the scenes as well, because Will goes there with that. Good morning to you, Druba. And of course, as well as it being Thomson Tuesday, great to have you along, Druba. Really appreciate it. Where are those photos, man, of your plot, of your happy homestead? Yes, Thomson Tuesday. It's also Toothpaste Tuesday. And look, I'm showing you the set there. My beautiful missus, we celebrated our wedding anniversary yesterday, and we drank this bottle of wine, which I might do a quick review of as well. A nice, really nice organic red. Louisa will be joining us soon as well, I hope. I don't know, it's gone really quiet downstairs. She's with the kids, and I'm hoping she's going to show us how to make toothpaste as well as being a domestic goddess this morning. So that to come, but let's go first to sharing George Branco's information about the COVID-19 situation. He, of course, writes a newsletter, coronavirus in Portugal for estrangeiros, for strangers. Let's have a look. It's on Substack, georgebranco.substack.com. And this is his newsletter from yesterday. The slow reopening begins, but life is a long way from normal. And that's a really good headline from George, because I think a lot of people are just thinking, yay, lockdown, lift off, let's go, let's get back to normal. I don't think it's going to be quite like that, even though the energy is there for it, and the drive in people and the frustration sometimes, I think, in people to get back to normal, or so-called normal. So according to the numbers, very positive but slightly strange weekend for statistics. This is published yesterday. As the number of confirmed cases sort of went down on Saturday, the health services discovered 422 cases in the North region had been counted twice and had to readjust the figures to take them into account. It happens. That meant Saturday's report featured less cases than Friday's had before the adjustment. Authorities only picked up another 92 cases, a 0.37% increase, and the smallest since March on Sunday, before today's slightly larger increase. Unfortunately, patients are still dying at a fairly steady rate of between 15 and 20 a day, sadly, which is a small improvement from numbers in the mid-20s to high 30s for much of last month. Here are the figures, and of course, 25,524 confirmed cases, 242 new ones, percentage increase of just under 1%. Deaths in Portugal, 20 new deaths, and that would take us to a total death toll of 1,063 here in Portugal as of yesterday, the 4th of May. And that's a 1.92 increased percentage there in deaths, and people recovering is 1,712. These are official recoveries that have been rigorously tested. Okay, so let's go into a bit more of the detail of George's email. While there's COVID, there won't be life as normal. The state of emergency is over, and the first of 3 stages of reopening is underway. But I just want to quickly repeat, this is George talking, that today shouldn't be treated like the end of quarantine. Okay, as some people are saying, or a return to life as normal. The state of emergency has been replaced by a state of calamity, hardly less serious sounding, right? So there's a kind of language translation thing there, I think. And the changes coming in today really are fairly minor. You can read more here and here. These are the old emails, newsletters from George, well worth subscribing to. No nonsense, concise and to the point with his newsletter. Thoroughly recommend it. Some more small shops are open today, and you have a few more excuses to leave the house, but restaurants at half capacity can't reopen until May the 18th, and cinemas, also with restrictions, won't return until June the 1st. Many more restrictions will remain in place after that date. So keep it real, like take it steady, everybody. I think that's the message here, isn't it? And understandably, we're like lambs or ponies, like being allowed out into the paddock for the first time in weeks or ever. It's also, it feels, excuse me. and we want to get out there and we want to enjoy the sunshine. But take it easy, folks. A measured response, I think, is important, and just to see how it goes and to get the feedback. I'm sure we'll have more to say about this about 20 past. The reasons you may leave the house may have broadened slightly, but everyone who lives here, that's in Portugal, not just older people, have a civic duty to stay inside. So there you go. The civic duty at the moment is still to stay inside, to socially isolate, to physically distance, as Publico further explains. So you can link to that from George's newsletter. As Prime Minister Antonio Costa said, everyone has to take personal responsibility for staying home unless necessary, and must continue to keep their distance physically. While there's COVID, there won't be life as normal, he said, as reported by Publico. The PM added that the virus remained in Portugal, and this minor reopening would increase the risk of it spreading. And we just into unknown territory, folks. This is me adding to George's newsletter here. We are going into unknown territory. It is opening up a little bit, but obviously we'll have to see what effect that has. And yeah, he goes on to some briefer news and ends on a lighter note, where one of Spain's deputy prime ministers has an interesting, though wildly ridiculed, theory about why Portugal has controlled the virus more successfully than our own country. And this was a report from Diario de Noticias. The virus, Teresa Ribeiro said, came from the east, while Portugal is a little more to the west, and so they could stop a little earlier. She also, it's the sort of thing I would say that, I've got sympathy. She also pointed out Portugal's political forces and general society were more united than in Spain, perhaps, but it was relating to the virus's progression to geography that shocked critics, who were quick to point out Greece, just to name one country further east, had only 14 deaths per million residents, much less than Spain at 540, and indeed Portugal at 102 at the time of reporting this. And yeah, I saw the Greek Prime Minister on TV yesterday, and he was saying, really, the way that it's been handled in Greece basically has restored pride in the country. It's a national pride, and I don't think he said pride or confidence in the government, but in the state. I think he thought that the Greek state had a shot in the arm from how they'd handled the coronavirus. So some good mornings. Lovely to hear from you guys. Good morning. Tuesday. Looking forward to the toothpaste demo. Look, she's limbering up now. A quick look behind the scenes. Thumbs up. I don't know are you ready to roll? She's ready to roll, I think. So we'll just we'll leave the tooth cam on. Is it the pasta de dente cam is on. Good morning to you then in Lole, Claire and Steve. I'm so confused about that now. A lot more cars on the road this morning. Yeah, people have taken it as a green flag to just get crack-a-lacking and back to life, haven't they? I'm unmuting the mic downstairs because children running around in the background. Good morning all from Eloise. This is a very daring bit of broadcasting this morning. Hi Eloise, thank you for saying good morning from Panella. Good morning all. Many cars here. Mute that mic again. Many cars here, and also many out without masks. I also look forward to toothpaste. We're all so easily pleased here. And I've given my phone to Louisa to look at so she can actually make the recording here. And I found my research, which is now on my phone, about how many billions of units of plastic are discarded from us using toothpaste in tubes. The design of toothpaste tubes hasn't changed much since 1966 when they were first invented, and we throw tons of plastic waste away that used to contain toothpaste. And the ancient Egyptians and Greeks and Chinese 500 years BC used to use toothpaste or powder, and we're going to do it live here. We're joining the illustrious Greeks and Romans and Chinese of prehistory to make history here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream with Mrs. Munson. Hello.
Hello.
A belated Feliz Aniversario, meu amor. Just practicing my Portuguese there. Thank you so much for joining me this morning and doing a demo. Take it away, toothpaste girl.
Hello, everyone. So we're in the downstairs of our pension, and it's still got all the vintage furniture and vintage wallpaper, you might notice. So I don't know if you can see, but I've got all these pots in front of me. I've got bentonite clay. These are all in old jars, old sterilized jars. So you've got bentonite clay, which is a really good ingredient to put into toothpaste. I've also got some just green clay. Both of them have got really good. So it's my son in the background with a xylophone. They've both got really good powers to absorb toxins and neutralize what's going on in your mouth. I've got standard old organic coconut oil. This is actually bicarbonate of soda. I've always got that in hand. I get it aluminium free because some makes of bicarb, I think, cut it with aluminium, you know, like when they're cutting powders and things, you know, in processing. So I always get Red Mills bicarb. I get it off Amazon.de at the moment. I've not managed to get it in Portugal, but bicarb essential. If you haven't got bicarb, you could use maybe baking powder, which is really similar. I've also got some organic peppermint oil, essential oil. This is what I would normally do, is I would put the coconut oil in a sterilized jar and then add all of the powders that I wanted to add in, and then pop the sterilized jar in a bain-marie, and then it would all just melt, and then I'd give it a shake and a little stir, and then job's done. However, I don't have my cooker here and our kitchen is just too disgusting to do it in there. So I'm actually using one of these lovely little purchases, which I'm sure most people have made at some point when they've gone to Lidl. They've ended up buying some electrical goods. And so this was our chocolate fondue. So this is how I'm making it today. So I've already got, with a power of TV, as you know, here's one I made earlier. I've measured out three coconut oils and just popped them in so they're already preheating. And essentially, all you have to do is, however much coconut oil you use, you then put in the equivalent of that in powder. And you want most of it to be bicarb, because that's got really strong cleaning ability. So it is very salty. So when you're trying to do it on your kids, it doesn't always work. You know, my children are a little bit fussy, as I'm sure, you know, anyone with children will probably attest to. So we've got this melting. What I'm going to do is just add in my powders. So it's really simple. Now, I should also say, some recipes suggest you can use xylitol, which I think is, it's a natural sugar replacement. I wouldn't use it myself in any baking or anything, but it sweetens it up. And xylitol, I think, has been used in studies and has shown some form of protection for your teeth. So I wouldn't use it for any other reason, but I'm going to put it in mine because our children are going to be the end users, and they are quite fussy. So I'm going to start off. So I've got 3 in there. So I'm going to put in, this is just slightly smaller than a tablespoon. So I'm going to put in 1 and a bit of bicarb. I'm going to use the white clay because I think they might get a bit grossed out with the green clay, but you can use green clay. Should have used a clean spoon there. Whoops. So that's roughly my 3 lots of powders. I'm just going to put some xylitol in as well. A couple of spoons of that to make it nice and sweet so that they actually do use it. And I'm just going to give it a little stir. And once all that's stirred in, I'm going to add in my essential oils. Now, while I'm doing that, I'll also share with you some other things. Like you can, if you're making your own, you can make different recipes for your different family members. In the past, we've made some with lemon and peppermint oil, which was popular for a while. But you know how kids are, you know, they like broccoli one day and another day, you know, all of a sudden it's the worst thing ever. So it's not in flavour at the moment. It's not flavour of the month at all. Now this is actually quite runny, so I'm going to put some more powder in, a bit more clay. Now our dentist in Lule, and I put his link into one of the previous shows, is really, really great, and he really does talk about oil pulling. It's been good. And with these toothpastes, sometimes what I do, like I've made myself my own jar. Now this is the one I keep in the fridge. Guess what I've got in there? You probably know, but this is my like reserve jar, and then I just pop it into an old Tiger Balm jar, the one I use in the bathroom. Any small jar's perfect, like those old hotel jam jars, you know, save those, sterilize them. And anyway, what I do is I use a clean finger, pop, I don't know, about a pea-sized thing, let it melt in my mouth, do a bit of oil pulling with it, so I actually pull it through, and then I start cleaning my teeth with it. Now, I'm using turmeric in mine because I like the teeth whitening effect. Now, a lot of people think that turmeric and coconut oil is a load of old hooey. You've got to be careful with it, because if you get it around here, you will stain your face. So you have to only use turmeric in it if you can, be really disciplined with it. One thing that people ask when they use these kinds of toothpaste is, where do you spit after? If you've got a compost bin nearby, spit in the compost bin, because your toilet or your sink will get completely scummy with all this oil, and God knows what it does when it solidifies in your drains. So I would always, if you're going to do it as a family habit, maybe have a little bowl that you can just all spit in, or just go and get the kids to spit in your garden afterwards. And the residues of this aren't really going to harm them. If anything, they've all got sort of, good health benefits. I use bicarb most days and clay most days. Right, that's nice and melted in. So what I'm going to do is just pop in. I think it's about 10 drops for about a 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and like up to the same in powder. So I'm going to put in about 15 drops. No, I'm going to put 10 in just because my kids are fussy. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll just get them to taste it, while it's still wet, and see what they think. And you can always adapt it. I mean, this is the great thing with this. You can do as much as you like. Now, some of these, sorry about my son. Some of these recipes say you can put in distilled water. Now, if you've got an old toothpaste container, if you take the top off, you can pour it in and then peg it with some kind of kitchen peg, and then roll it out, and it's a little bit more like toothpaste then. So this is kind of the finished product. I'm going to call one of my kids to give it a taste test. Hang on. It won't be the baby.
Test it on the kids. Yes, test it on the kids before you test it on the grown-ups. Perfect idea.
Hang on, let me just...
Okay, and we got some lovely comment. Deodorant next, says Eloise. That's a great idea.
Actually, I can tell you that one now.
Oh,
The same, but you don't need clay. So you use bicarb.
Don't put turmeric in your armpits.
Oh no, don't. So no turmeric. So you could actually use this as deodorant if you wanted to, if you're not like allergic to peppermint oil. What I usually do instead is I use coconut oil, bicarb, and a bit of arrowroot, which dries it out. I have noticed when I use that as deodorant that you might need a couple of days to get used to it, because initially the body goes woo, to the bicarb, but you don't have to use it every day. I've been using coconut oil deodorant for years and years and years, and after a good month of using it, what you'll find is you just don't have smelly sweat anymore. You just don't really sweat. And so it's only really if you overexert yourself, or in the sun all day, or if you've had a lot of toxic food, that you might want to start using it again. And then within a week, you're back to normal. You don't need to use it. It's amazing stuff. These are kind of interchangeable. And if you run out of one, and this sounds a bit scummy, but this is real kind of, like saving your pennies here, heat up what you've got, like reheat it so no bacteria is there, and then just repurpose it. But obviously, we don't do that. But I would do that on myself. I have used my deodorant as toothpaste and vice versa.
I didn't know she was going to say all of that. And happy homesteading, everybody. And also, I think I should make a little bit.
Tastes good.
Tastes good.
Diggs, come
here. I should say as well, with the essential oils, it's probably best to go low and then build up to according to taste. Because I heard an aromatherapist saying, like, a pretty shocking thing about, yes, only put 1 drop of essential oil because the molecules go straight into your bloodstreams. Like, well, on your gums, I guess they would, and that's how.
No, don't eat it. Just put your finger in it, rub it into your teeth, and tell me what it tastes like.
What's that like, Mr. Diggs? Oh, is he just keeled over? Was he all right?
No, he's still here.
Stand him up again.
What do you think?
How is it?
What's the flavour like?
No spitting on the floor.
Salty.
He said it's salty.
Okay.
I think Minnie would like it. We'd have to make it black so it looks like her soy sauce that she loves.
All right, go on, run along and take your brother with you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Diggs.
thanks for watching.
Oh,
Thank you, Digby. I've got to go and do some mumming. Bye.
That's fantastic. All right, so thank you very much to Louisa there. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Gary was saying a lot of people do not rinse the toothpaste after they've brushed their teeth. And you're absolutely right. I think there's some pretty nasty stuff in what you would just drop the mic. Louisa's much better at this than me. Okay, Steve, thanks for that. Yeah, a lot of people who use the old school toothpaste, I really think it's worth rinsing it, spitting it away. We moved on to the kind of hippie toothpaste. I call it Steiner toothpaste, I think. And I mean, it's like €5 a tube. So it's crazy expensive. So hence, you know, and with the lockdown, with the homesteading and everything, started using our own. And it's a great way of getting nutrition in your mouth, which we might talk about with Will in just a moment as well. Let's just add she's still testing it on the kids. But you're absolutely right, Steve. She is very, very good, isn't she? I'm going to have to get her to do some more. So there you go. Any questions or comments about toothpaste? Would love to hear about your recipes. One thing I thought we might do is dehydrate the toothpaste into tablets. Then you give it to the kids and they chew the tablet and then they brush their teeth once they've turned it into a paste in their mouth. Can you see the feedback here, love? I'm just about to taste it now. She's come up to the studio.
I just put some more sugar in.
That's really nice.
Like the xylitol.
More xylitol, please. Yes, thank you. Excellent. And maybe no, I'll do the wine review another time. Let's not mix that up. Yeah. So toothpaste I think it's actually quite a dangerous thing, you know, the common or garden one. The hippie ones are really expensive. You can make your own, as Louise has just showed you, and we will be experimenting. You can use, you know, a lot of people who don't want to use a plastic tube and have all those plastic tubes end up in the oceans are using a powder. You can buy powders. You can make your own paste or powder there. And I think we're going to take it a stage further and dehydrate tablets. And if you make it taste really nice, the kids will want to chew and eat that, and then they can brush their teeth. And as you say, Gary, they can spit it out afterwards and get rid of all the stuff that they've stirred up from their gums and palate thereafter, straight into the compost heap or that little bowl that Louisa mentioned, which sounds disgusting. But anyway, let's move on now. It's Thompson Tuesday, of course, and Will Thomson is here. Good morning to you, Will. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay.
I was saying about you, mate. You're the man who does so much on our behalf, because the information doesn't get any simpler. There's more of it. It's more complicated and more contradictory. And you're the fella who goes on our behalf into the bowels of research and conspiracy theories and goodness knows what, on all the top level scientific stuff as well. What have you found in this last week, my friend?
Just what you're saying. It's very, very contradictory. It's been a really hard week, to be fair. Trying to convince people some of the stuff they're reading is completely wrong, and the other stuff is being. You really do see two narratives in the news. The big thing for me this week is the vitamin D. So I'll tell you the story of how that all progressed. You know, we've been talking about it. And as all these new mysteries came out in the news about the children getting Kawasaki disease, about people with dark skin having it more severe, about men more than all these things, I was finding immediately could be attributed to vitamin D. But when you read a lot of the media, they were saying that we don't know anything about vitamins and the immune system. Scientists don't know, so don't go out and buy supplements. And that bothered me a lot. Because the stuff I read was saying, we know all about this, we all know all about that. And I got more and more angry about all of that over time. And at one point I recruited a lot of my friends. I just gave a post to people I know and just said, can you please just get this out? And it was me kind of screaming, saying like, this is a scandal. If someone doesn't do something right now, this is one of the big things that could make a huge difference. And the very next day, Public Health England suddenly changed their health advice that maybe you should try vitamin Ds. And suddenly the newspapers started filling up with stories that actually maybe it could be a good thing. So they finally bothered to check people's actual blood levels of vitamin D, and lo and behold, discovered that people who had a vitamin D deficiency were 90% more likely to be in a severe condition, and that 90% of the people who only had a mild condition were doing fine, were doing okay. So it's a complete game changer. People who had a vitamin D deficiency, which in the northern latitudes, like we've been seeing the bad stuff happen, it's like 40 to 80% of people have a deficiency. And they missed that. But now they're pushing it, and the papers are saying, yeah. So that's the results of the study. The green on the right is showing that all the people who had mild symptoms had good vitamin D levels. But on the other side, it's really causing a lot of damage. That's more effective than the drugs that they're trying to come out with, you know, in terms of benefits. So I'm glad that we're finally got there to recommend that.
I think that's absolutely scandalous. But I guess the thing is, it's not as if we were very aware and promoting the benefit of nutrition before all this happened, right? So it is residual, isn't it? And it's cultural that we don't really pay a lot of attention to that. And then when it's heightened and in a crisis situation like this, that just exposes how ignorant we are about the role of nutrition, vitamins and minerals in our diets. And the phrase I was struggling to find when I met you, when we talked last week, was hyper-processed food. You know, like 50% of people are eating, or 50% of people's diet hyper-processed food, 70% if you're in hospital, which is really crazy, or the food in hospital, you know, of what's available in hospital, 70% is hyper-processed. There aren't the vitamins and minerals in that people need, right? Which is reflected in what you're saying here.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of places like England, America, they really have a trouble with getting good nutrition, especially people from a difficult socioeconomic background. Really don't, they eat more McDonald's and KFC than, you know, good healthy food.
Yeah, okay. So on a practical level, then, vitamin D you can supplement, and sunshine is good. And what do we know? Have you researched what foods are good? If you want to sort of, you know, mainline it, do it naturally rather than resort to supplements necessarily.
Nettles are good. Nettle soup and putting nettles and things if you want to go out and do the wild foraging thing. But it's take fish and eggs. And they used to give cod liver oil, didn't they, to kids back in the day?
Yes,
that's
indeed,
why.
yes, indeed.
We don't do that anymore, but that's why. Now, if they pushed this in the media overnight and said, right, everyone think about this, you know, make sure you're tip top, it could more than half the critical rate and the mortality rate, but they're still not doing it. Anyway, so we'll move on from that. The vitamin C was the same. If you have, they only just started recommending, this is Public Health Agency, only just started recommending this now. And to me, that is scandalous. I have hope that I have people, there's somebody listening in the newspapers that I don't know. I guess they scan my Facebook or something, or maybe it was just a message that got out there from my friends. But it's almost like if I shout loud enough, then it starts showing up in the media. And it's hard to say for sure, but it does seem like that happens sometimes. So I hope someone's there listening. Yeah.
All right. Well, you were going to go on to vitamin C there.
Just a similar thing, that if people have a deficiency. Do you remember there was all the stuff about they were pumping people full of vitamin C? They were testing it in China and in New York as well. Yeah. But it's the same idea. There's no point in overloading on the vitamins. It's just as long as you've got enough, then you're good. But anyone with a deficiency runs into trouble. And I would imagine that you could assume that for almost everything, for zinc, for selenium, vitamin B12, I don't know. That seems to be more of a depression and a neurological thing, but a full-on nutritional drive. And especially now that things are really starting to get bad for the, you know, developing countries, places where there is an issue with malnutrition and so on. It's the best, quickest way to sort of help a large section of the, you know, the whole world, really. So the other one was these drugs that I've been going on about, the ARB blockers and the hypertension medicines that they had been avoiding really looking at. They were only worried about people who were already taking them and whether or not they should stay on them or not. And it turns out they are doing a really good job. They're cutting, the tests they did were on people who had hypertension, and they found that people who were taking the drugs and stayed on them had less than half a chance of being critical. So now they're going to finally now start looking into whether or not they can be used as a treatment. So I expect we'll see those results in a week or two. And it could be that they can just, they're like almost like I can't say the word cure because so I can't say that, but really could be a game changer. And these are drugs widely available across the world, and they're safe. So,
all right, brilliant. Look, we're lifting lockdown variously across the Western world, right? Sorry, what a terrible phrase. The Western. I mean, this kind of, the capitalist world is wanting to go back to normal, start buying stuff again, get back out there in the rat race and on the treadmill. Desperate everywhere seems to be to do that because the world as we know it is built on economies, so everyone's desperate to get out there and not go hungry. In every level of what that means. The mere mention of lifting restrictions, you see here, Steve says a lot more cars on the road this morning, and also many cars here and so many out without masks. What do you think about how people are responding to this psychologically? How what should we be doing, and how variously, respectively, do you think countries are doing around the world with this?
What have you read about Italy now opening? It's rather hard. They're starting to open up now, and they were expecting a sort of everyone going out on the streets and hugs and waving flags and so on, but it's not been like that at all. It's been a very harrowing and traumatizing experience for them as a whole, and they're actually more concerned still now about the food situation and whether there's going to be an ongoing food problem. So I'm glad at the start, the first thing we did was start growing our own vegetables, and I hope a lot of people have done that because every little will help now. It certainly helped to keep me sane. Yeah, so, so you can divide everybody into their countries and how they've done, whether they've managed to get on top of the infection. So Portugal's done well. Italy's now coming out. There's lots of European countries who are going to be able to start opening up. But sadly, there's a lot of countries that they're just going to be stuck in this for a lot longer. Places like England, I don't see the new cases dropping just yet. So it's going to be totally different for every single country, I think, what's going to happen. And of course, in the developing world, it's just starting to ramp up for a lot of those places now, and that's where my concern now lays. It's why I think these sort of drugs and the health advice may be the best option for them. They can't afford to just lock down and stay in houses for very long at all.
Okay. Well, it's pretty sobering, isn't it? When you kind of stop and think again and reflect on it as much as you do, Will, and there's so many unknowns, and it just seems like containing ourselves is a worthwhile precaution, whatever you think, kind of politically, conspiratorially, or whatever. It does seem sensible to contain oneself, and for me, and the message of this live stream show is like, the choice is back to normal or back to nature, as far as I'm concerned. And, it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen if you do more of going back to nature? It's not going to be that arduous, is it? I mean, in some ways it is, I guess, because you might have to give up some of the things you used to, but there are many benefits in the whole sort of philosophy of going back to nature, eating well, growing your own food, living lightly, all those sorts of things, not using so much plastic, making your own toothpaste, for example. What else would you add to that? And what's the extension of that philosophy for you?
I would agree with all of that. Did I send you that? There was a man reading a poem to his child. Did I send you that video?
You did.
And he was talking about,
sorry, I haven't listened to it. Talk us through that.
Just a man talking from the future about what happened in this virus 2020 and how everyone before that was all concerned about their cars and their jobs, and then the virus came and forced everyone to realize that people who had just wanted to drive the cars suddenly missed going for a walk, and how it made everyone sort of slow down and think more about that. And I think that's definitely happening. But again, you divide it between people who've had to go through this in a city environment, and then people who've been in a country and faraway environment, more rural, have probably had a much better time of it than those cooped up in apartments.
Absolutely. I've got to say, where I live in Korea here, I went into town to pay a bill on the cash machine thing, on the system that they have here in Portugal. And the civilization, the thing we've built as human beings looked really miserable. But if you drive out of town and you see the vineyards in spring, you would not know that anything had happened out there. Nature is coming back to life. It's absolutely beautiful. You look at humankind's imposition on the planet, and it's all looking very sad and miserable. And I was thinking, guys, the end of our civilization. I know it's a bit dramatic last night, but it's really weird, how that contrast is so stark for us at the moment.
Well, one of the things I've been really looking into is what's happened with the meat industry. It was always I was very ambitious about that idea that everyone needs to stop eating so much meat. And all of a sudden, it's like they've culled all the farm animals because they had no abattoirs open, or the processing line wasn't working. So they've just sort of got rid of all the animals. Now, does that mean in the future, or even now, people are eating much less meat? And is there going to be a mass shortage of meat and forcing everyone to eat a healthier? If this was a forced conspiracy sort of top-down plan, and they were like, we're going to force everyone to stop eating meat, then this is sort of, it's working, if that's the case, Which is horrible for everyone in the industry, but at the same time, it's one of those things that we really needed to be looking at anyway.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me.
There was one
final word. Yeah, please do.
You were asking about as people move outside, because we've got a much more trained up, I assume, the staff, the people who deal with contact tracing and so on. If we all want to, say we get back to zero or almost zero and then start to move back into daily life, those people need to be able to jump on any sort of outbreak. If cases start popping up anywhere, they need to be able to get on that fast and contain it. So it is a case of, for weeks and weeks, the less people move around and interact, the better.
Okay.
It's not a case of don't do any, but the more people, if you can choose not to go off to a big gathering or change part, if you can, then it's better. The less they do, the better.
Okay, so containment then is the thing. Keep your powder dry, and hold your fire as a consumer and as a man about town or a woman about town at the moment. Take it easy, everybody. Enjoy the spring, enjoy the summer. And I can hear it. It's coming through your windows and doors, Will. One of the lovely things about talking to you is we get a sense of Portugal where you are with all the lovely birdsong there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about taking a break from all of this.
Fair play. You deserve it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get on with the garden stuff for now. So maybe in 2 weeks, but I'm going to take a break this week.
You're welcome anytime, and we'll look forward to coming back, and we'll know that you're getting your vitamin D, attending to your veg, and having a great time in Portugal, because that's what it's really all about. Take care, mate.
All right, you guys.
All right. Thanks for that, Will. Bye for now. Yeah, vitamin D, vitamin C, back to nature, look after yourselves, look after each other. It's quite simple, really, isn't it? What we need to do. And then there's the temptation. Mammon is roaring for us to go back and be consumers again. Okay, a few things to add to the toothpaste experiment that we did earlier on. Thanks very much, Will. Looking forward to you joining us again when you're ready. Hey, everyone. Obs, I should have said that I'm not a doctor or dentist. I'm just a mum homeschooler and an astrologer. But I've been using this stuff for years and the deodorant since I first got pregnant 9 years ago and wanted to eliminate toxins in beauty products. And then Lucy continues. Also, Carl is right about the essential oils. Go light. I'm just a bit slap happy. I find the Wellness Mum has a good lot of recipes. I've been following her recipes for years. So go to wellnessmama.com for more inspiration. And continuing the adulation of how perhaps you should be presenting the show and not me, Louisa. Thanks, Louisa says to Steve. I spent 20 years as a corporate communications trainer. I have an astrology podcast, videos, etc. Carl and I have a very similar skill set. It's actually how we got together. When he had a New Age radio show 10 years ago, and I've been outed as having a New Age radio show, I contacted him to see if he wanted an astrology on his own show. Certainly did. And she also says, when I said, should she be wearing a mask or a snood? She should at least have tied her hair back, she says. So we're doing all the disclaimers at the end here now. And which is why actually these homemade pastes are good. The ingredients are all used for either nutritional detoxification, antibacterial. There's no harm actually probably in adding vits and mins and nutritional products to your toothpaste. It's the first thing that often goes into your mouth. I don't know about your private life, but it's often among the many things that go into people's mouths in the morning. Ooh, that sounds like a great plan. I did work for British Gas. Hold on a minute. What's this about? Okay. Ha, you look lovely with your hair flowing. And what an interesting background, more interesting than my gas and plumbing background. I thought you meant the wallpaper in our house. Now retired and getting plenty of vitamin D whilst isolated in our motorhome. Sounds all right to me. And that sounds like a great plan. I did work for British Gas many years ago in Bury, Lancashire, looking in all gas specialists and to go and help clients. Gas and plumbing is essential. I'm all for trades and people helping themselves. We all need these useful skills in our communities. Knowing a man that can is one of the best resources. Absolutely. Wherever we move to, I look for our nights of a round table and have an email list of people to know. Plumbers, mechanics, farmers. Wonder what that last word is. DO. Doctors, probably. And she finishes by saying, are you touring? And how are you staying sane in such a small space? Yes, that's a reference, I think, to our life in a camper van as well. So thanks very much, everyone. This extended edition was Thomson Tuesday. We'll have Will back when he's ready. And thanking you, Will, for your excellent service and contributions to the show. And thank you, of course, to Louisa today for her toothpaste recipe, a live demo. And look, I didn't have time to do the wine review. It's not an bio wine that I do want to talk to you about because it comes from one of the highest vineyards in Portugal, and it's biologique, and it is organic, and it's delicious. And we had it for our wedding anniversary last night. So I want to do a review of that. That'll probably be tomorrow. So take care, Talago. Thanks for bearing with us for this extended show, and bye for now. See you tomorrow. Bye.